Well, I don't know why I separated this section. I guess maybe because we want to separate these things. Fungi as parasites, the not so good side of fungi. About 30% of known species, that's the estimate, of fungi are parasites or pathogens. Mostly they parasitize or cause disease in plants. Okay, so here's a couple of examples here. One, that's of enormous significance historically to ecosystems in the eastern US, uh, was accidentally introduced from Asia in the early 1900s, and it has wiped out nearly all American chestnut trees. So there's only about, a handful of individual chestnuts, and this dramatically altered the forest landscape pretty much all throughout the eastern U.S. Um, there's some kind of Hail Mary efforts taking place right now to bring back American chestnuts and try some, genetic engineering and things like that, so that they are resistant to this fungus. But it's just had enormous implications, almost a little bit like the Irish potato famine. Here's a couple of other ones that are sort of historically or culturally important. The one on the left is corn smut. It looks awful, because it infects the kernels and makes them swollen and really weird looking. However, it's edible, and it's tasty. In some parts of Mexico, this is a culinary delicacy, and it's called huitlacoche. Okay. And I was fortunate to come across some one time. Some friends and I picked up some corn at the farmer's market, probably all organic, et cetera. And we opened it up, and there's this weird gray looking stuff, and everyone was horrified and immediately wanted to throw everything right into the compost pile. And I said, no, I think we have some huitlacoche here. I think we should cook this up and eat it. So we did. And no one died, and it was good. Over on the right is something, a very, very serious plant pathogen. It's an ascomycete, and it's called Claviceps purpurea, because it's kind of purple. Okay, and it produces a toxin. Among other things, it produces a toxin called lysergic acid, which is the active ingredients in LSD, which is a psychoactive and psychotropic drug. Ingestion of this toxin produces what's known as ergotism, which is characterized by, among other things, gangrene, nervous spasms, hallucinations, temporary insanity. It's associated with miscarriages, fetal malformations, and all kinds of terrible things. An outbreak of ergotism in New England in around 1693 is hypothesized by some historians to be at the root of the Salem witch trials. Yeah, you've heard of it. Kind of an unfortunate chapter in American history, and a weird one where it was sort of weirdly fascinated by this stuff. And you can study it from a cultural perspective, right? And look at, like, what was, in this particular branch of Puritanism, which obviously had its roots in England, what was the thinking about witchcraft? What did witches do? And if somebody was going around sort of, babbling nonsense and hallucinating and having miscarriages or producing children with, horrible malformations, it doesn't take too much of an imagination to draw a straight line between there and witchcraft, right? What other explanation could there be? Other yucky things, as I mentioned earlier, the chytridiomycosis is implied in the decline or the extinction of at least 200 species of amphibians worldwide. Okay, and in a previous life, I was a herpetologist with the Arizona Game and Fish Department, working specifically on the issue of amphibian declines. And so it's been something that's been being actively investigated for at least 30 years now. And some people sort of take it as the canary in the coal mine. What's going on with these amphibians? Why are we losing so many species of them? Other mycoses, which are diseases caused by fungi, ringworm, which you see up there, causes, so it's not a worm at all. It's just what the lesion looks like. Athlete's foot. There are systemic mycoses. Aspergillus is one of them that enter via the lung. So something that people in Arizona sometimes suffer from, and this is a debilitating disease in that it's very hard to get rid of, and it's very hard to diagnose in the first place. You may have heard of people or even pets getting something called valley fever down in the desert, okay, in Tucson and the Phoenix area or whatever, and they're sick and they're tired for months and months and months, and it takes them forever to get it diagnosed and quite a long time to clear it up. I'm a big fan of zoos, and I've gone to all the zoos in Arizona and pretty much, and noticed to my dismay that there are not very many primates. I happen to love monkeys. Who doesn't, right? But one of the things I learned is that it's very hard to keep monkeys in Arizona because they're particularly prone to valley fever. So now you know. And then yeast infections, in various parts of the body. There's, a yeast infection, candidiasis in an infant, which again are opportunistic infections. They're not supposed to be there. It's not all bad. Practical uses of fungi. Look at it this way: if 30% of fungi are parasitic, then that means that the vast majority of fungi are either harmless or actually beneficial. Whether it's because we eat them or they help plants grow that we in turn eat, because they recycle things for plants to grow as decomposers, etc. So this list is just some of the ways in which fungi have benefited, either directly or indirectly benefited humans. So for thousands of years, we've used yeasts, for example, in the production of cheese and beer and bread and so forth. Medicine, okay, penicillin is derived from a fungus. And then, as I mentioned, as model organisms in genetic studies, there are novel applications under development as we speak, things like self-healing concrete. That's what I said, self-healing concrete, look it up. It's pretty cool. Extraterrestrial dwellings, such as those that are detailed in the article that I've linked under Moodle. Okay, so you definitely want to watch the videos that are associated with this particular chapter, and then take a look at how people are investigating fungi as building materials and other interesting things. And then if you're really into the macabre, you can look at the cordyceps video, but don't do it before you go to bed because it'll give you nightmares.